All right, welcome back. Let's quickly chat about Python 2 versus Python 3. So if you're like me, you're probably used to your software updating and changing all the time, whether it's your phone's operating system, your gaming console that happens to upgrade and restart right when you download a new game, or your computer, your Windows or Mac operating system. These things change all the time. There's always new versions. And programming languages are really no different. They're always enhanced. They're always changed. New features are added in. It's constantly a process of growing. So back in 2008, the creator of Python, his name is Guido van Rossum, was a bit unhappy with some of the really important architectural decisions that were made early on in Python, and he wanted to change them. So he decided to overhaul Python and release Python 3. So this was 10 plus years ago in 2008, and at the time, the goal was for Python 3 to be the present and future of the language. People were supposed to adopt it pretty quickly and stick with it. But as you can probably tell, just by the fact that I have to make this video, it was more complicated than that. And the reason for all the trouble, all the controversy, is that Python 3 is not backwards compatible. So usually when you have a programming language and changes are made, it's made incrementally, and it's made in a way that old code can still run. So old JavaScript written 5 years ago, if you tried to run it now, there won't be any problems. It won't be using some of the new features. It might not look as nice, but it will still work. But with Python 3, the opposite was true. So all the existing users, the existing companies that were built on Python 2, their code, their libraries, everything that they had done up until that point would not work if they were run with Python 3. And because of that, still to this day, Python 2.x is still commonly used. Python 3 is now very, very common, but that wasn't always the case, because it's taken a while for companies and for libraries to fully support Python 3, because it was a decision. Oftentimes with other updates, you just kind of opt into it without thinking, but going from Python 2 to 3 is a very deliberate choice you have to make. If you're on a team at a company, that team had to decide to migrate to Python 3. So it took a while. It's over 10 years later, and it's still not fully solved. So this is a little diagram. Back before Python 3 came out, it was one big happy family. All these developers, everybody in the Python community was writing Python 2.x. And they say hi to each other. They send hearts back and forth. It's real happy. But then Python 3 came out, which was an attempt to make Python great again. And there was very mixed reactions, as signified by all of these emoji here. It was very, very polarizing. What ended up happening is that the community was split. We have this box with a line through the middle, and now our happy family has been torn apart. And if you're someone who's trying to learn Python, for a while, it's been a little confusing about where you should start. There are thousands and thousands of blog posts and articles and YouTube videos where people explain the difference and talk about why you have to learn Python 2 or why you have to learn Python 3 or how to decide if you're new. It goes on and on and on. And for a while, there really was a lot of ambiguity around it. Python 2 was definitely the best choice early on. But things have changed. It's just been really slowly, very incrementally. But almost 10 years later, Python 3 is absolutely the way to go. The situation has improved a ton. So what makes me say that? Well, first of all, it's just easier in general to learn the most up-to-date current standards, to learn Python 3, and then go back if you need to work in Python 2 for some reason. You can figure out the key differences and the quirks, rather than going the other way. But more importantly, most of the main criticisms, the things people didn't like, just don't matter anymore. It used to be that all the popular packages, all the tools that people would use, the utilities that were written for Python, were only written in Python 2. So if you upgraded to Python 3, you were in this frontier land where you couldn't rely on common packages that you were used to. But that's no longer the case at all. There's a website here, I'll include the link, called Python 3 Readiness. And it shows out of the 360 most popular Python packages that are used, all the important things that you would ever need to do, well, not everything, but most of the things you'd ever need to do, they are all supporting Python 3 now. Out of the top 360, there's 12 that aren't. And you can see them here highlighted in white. But everything else is supporting Python 3. But this wasn't the case just a couple years ago. It was a much different picture. So many of the older courses still encourage you to learn Python 2 because at the time, that's what everyone was doing. But like I said, the situation has changed. all the popular packages you'd ever need support Python 3. So that's not a problem. It's not a question anymore. But the most compelling reason, honestly, is that Python 3 is the future. There's also the fact that Python 2 is going to be retired officially. So Python 2.7 is still being maintained now, but in just a couple short years, in 2020, at some point, there's not an official date, there's going to be a time where it's not maintained. So there's not going to be these two versions going forever. Python 3 is designed to be the version that lives on. So everybody who's learning Python 2 right now is going to have to move over to Python 3. If you're curious and you want to dive into the differences, it might be easier once you've learned some Python, but there's this website that goes into the key differences between 2.7.x and 3.x. So one just really quick example I'll show you. One of the first things we'll learn in this course is called the print function. And in Python 3, it looks like this: print, and then parentheses, and we pass in something to print. In Python 2, print was a statement rather than a function. So you didn't add parentheses. You could do it like this: print space hello world. In Python 3, you have to add the parens. So it's a minor difference, but you can see if you wrote code in Python 2 and you didn't have those parens and you tried to run it in Python 3, it wouldn't work because that's no longer valid code. So if you are a complete beginner and you are deciding, I think the case is pretty clear cut to learn Python 3 at this point. All of the blog posts, criticisms that you could still find out there, most of them are old and they're out of date because the situation has changed. And just remember that Python 3 is the future. So I sound like, I'm trying to sell it to you or something, but it just is. That's not even my choice. The developers of Python have made it clear that Python 3 is where things are going. So why not learn Python 3? And finally, one more picture of my cat. That was a long video. Look at that little grumpy face.